Often when people talk about grammar, they're talking about verbs. And often when people are talking about verbs, they're talking about tense and aspect. So in this video, we're going to talk about tense and aspect from the point of view of a cave person and show you how if you were a cave person, grammar could save your life. So let's pretend we're cave people and we're nomadic, and so we're walking around and we're trying to figure out if this is a good place to stay or not. And the main thing we need to know is, do buffalo come through here, right? That's the main thing. So we walk into a cave, and on the wall of the cave, we see that someone previously has drawn picture of buffalo on the wall of the cave. And so I look at that and I say, oh, great. This place is great. We should stop here and settle because buffalo come through here. Someone else has signaled that to us. But then you say wait a second. You think they mean there's buffalo here for like all the time, or there were buffalo at that time, but now there's not? What about buffalo? You see, without tense, without past, present, future, and as we'll see in a second, aspect, if I just see buffalo, I'm like, what about buffalo, right? That picture of buffalo is like loose vocabulary. It's like if I came up to you out of nowhere and said coffee, and you're just like, I want, you, did, are, gonna. This is important. I need to know if we're staying here or not. Like, this could be the survival of our, tribe. So now let's imagine that on that cave wall, we have a system for talking about when buffalo are around and how often and everything like that, right? And right now there's nothing. It's if you draw buffalo there, it's just like, hey, there's basically two options: either buffalo, yes, or buffalo with an X through it, and that means definitely no. So if we see that, we're like, no, we're not, we're out of here. What I'm proposing is a tense aspect matrix, and this is a tool that I use as part of the language matrix at large for every language. So past, present, and future, simple, continuous, perfect. We'll fill that out in a second. Imagine that this template is on the cave wall, and all of us know that we all know how it works, okay? Like, that's our language. It's a grid on the cave wall. Now, we don't have English, we don't have words. We only have buffalo drawings, okay? If this were English, the present simple or habitual, you could also say, happens, it happens, this happens. Is it happening right now? Not necessarily, but it happens. I eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not eating meat right now. So if you saw a picture of buffalo drawn on that quadrant, you'd go, okay, so buffalo do pass by here. If you saw buffalo written there with an X through it, you'd say buffalo do not come by here. You could be doing this same thing with a rain cloud, which might be another important thing. Like if you see a rain cloud, yes, it rains here. Rain with an X, no, it doesn't rain here. Now, if you come down to the continuous aspect, there's a difference between something happens and something's happening right now. A lot of times things happen, but they're not happening right now. Likewise, a lot of things don't happen, but for some reason they are happening right now. You see what I mean? Come over to simple past tense. Tell me everything that happened, right? And so if you see the buffalo written here, you'd say, okay, so buffalo came by here like a week ago, something like that, and we think that it will happen. Come down to present perfect. That's it has happened, okay? So a good way to think about has happened is at least once. Okay, so if we're deciding whether or not we should stay on this area of the wilderness, I'd want to know, does it happen? Does it rain? Do buffalo come, right? How often does it happen? Is it happening now? If you told me, oh, it happens often, it's happening right now, I'd go, okay, well, it clearly does happen a lot, right? If you told me it doesn't happen often and it's not happening right now, but it has happened, I'm thinking, how are my odds? It has happened. It's not happening now. Does it usually happen? Okay, that's tense and aspect. Take that same grid and apply it to your Spanish, your Arabic, whatever language you're learning, figure out the tense aspect matrix, and you can use this as a template to see the world through, right? So now I'm seeing a car pass by. That's happening right now. You begin to see the world through the lens of tense and aspect, which helps you stop thinking about grammar as something that's in a book, right? Often we think, oh, the grammar's in a book. Like in fact, the word grammar means, but like this is a grammar, like the grammar of the language, like the book of the language. Language is not inside that book. Language is actually, you're inside of language. Like grammar is not, you're inside of grammar. You know, grammar represents 4 dimensions. It represents the 3 dimensions of space and time, right? So past, present, and future, plus hypothetical stuff, which is like a 5th dimension. No, so there would be like if there were water, you know, that's like an alternate timeline. Grammar's not in a book. You are inside of grammar. That's the point. And language is just a code to describe that reality to others.